Another episode of All Things MSP Live. Tonight, I think we're going to have a great program. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that is going to help your MSP because at the core, we are a service business, and how you treat your clients, how your clients experience your service makes a difference. And I'm hearing myself twice now because I already have the window open. Let me go ahead and mute this. But now at least I know YouTube is working, right? So let's see. Let's go ahead and say, hello, YouTube. Make sure the comments are working, of course. And let's check and see how we're doing on LinkedIn. So let's see. And we are live on LinkedIn. So let me comment there. And last but not least, see if we can find us on Facebook here. And there we are. Oh. Looks like I lost my guest there for a second. Well, he's back, so we'll bring him on, when it's time. Still got a few more minutes here, and let me just comment on Facebook. All right, and all the comments are working. That's what we look for. And gosh, we're only 3 minutes into the intro, and everything's already tested and it's already working. I don't know what to do with myself. Well, I do actually. So for all of those of you who join us for the live stream, but haven't checked out the podcast yet, I would recommend you check out the podcast. I also invite any of you who would like to come on the show, whether it's the live stream or the podcast. We have openings. We're starting to schedule September now because we're getting real close. I actually have a couple. We're taking a couple weeks off from recording. So podcasts are already in the can. Those are scheduled. Live streams, I'm actually thinking about running some reruns since we do have some programs that a lot of people haven't seen yet. So I may just schedule those up for the time that I'm going to be out. And then we will be back towards the end of the month with some new content. Of course, the podcasts will be new because you haven't seen those yet. We've recorded them, but you haven't seen them yet. And really excited to get those out. We are closing in on almost 6 months of doing this podcast consistently every single week. When Justin and I started this out, I wasn't sure how consistent we could be with it. And that was one of my big concerns, was how we were going to make sure that we had a new podcast come out every week. So if you guys are struggling with how to do that, how to make sure you're consistent, whether it's your social media posting, whether it's your podcast delivery, let me know. We'll schedule a meeting, we'll chat it out, whatever. But we've actually done it for almost 6 months now. In fact, by the time we run out of content that we've already recorded, it will be 6 months. So really looking forward to that kind of anniversary. And it's a milestone for us because we weren't exactly sure when we started the whole thing how it was going to work out. And by the way, thanks to you, the audience, for joining us for these things, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And the uptake and the engagement that we've gotten off the live streams, the podcasts, all of it, and really especially the podcasts, I just want to say from you, or from me and from Justin, a very big thank you for that. We are closing down on 30 seconds here, so we're getting ready to start the show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about client relationships and how those are really a differentiator in your business, or can be a differentiator in your business. Think about any service companies that you have had do work for you. Which ones do you like better? What kind of experience did they deliver? And how can you deliver that type of experience in your MSP? All right, let's get this thing started. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of All Things MSP Live. Really do appreciate you guys being here tonight. Of course, we are here most Wednesday nights because this is the casual show, right? This is the show where MSPs, vendors, whatever, maybe a whole group of maybe people who call themselves tech degenerates get on here and we just talk about being in this channel, this IT service business channel, managed services, break fix, whatever you want to call it. We're all inclusive here. So whatever you call yourself, you're included here. Uh, we have a great topic tonight. This is somebody who is no stranger to the show. In fact, we have some of our regular listeners, watchers, if you will, in the comments already. Keith Nelson is here. Fabian is here. So guys, thank you very much for showing up tonight. But tonight we also have somebody who is normally in the cheap seats, okay? But he's decided to come on the show, and I think this is a perfect person to talk about how this, client relationships affect your business. So tonight I have Degly Mendez from Avanzar Systems in the house. He is the CEO of Avanzar Systems, and I could introduce him, but he has a better story, and he probably tells it better than I do. What I will say is the man makes some mean scones, some really mean scones. But without further ado, Degly, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
I don't know what
It's,
happened there in the beginning while we were, while I was doing the pre-roll, but it looks like maybe you got kicked out and had to rejoin.
I think I hit the hang up button by
Oh,
mistake.
gotcha.
Yeah,
That's okay. We got you now.
yeah. But thanks for having me. And it feels a little weird to be on this side of the screen as opposed to behind and posting comments and the whole thing. So, but yeah, it's great to be here.
Awesome. So I did say that I would let you introduce yourself because you have a really interesting story as to how you got into this. So go ahead and let us know who is Degly Mendez and how'd you get here?
Well. So I've been in the business in the industry for over 20 years now. I believe it's since 1998. Um, and I got into this by way of necessity. Um, my original career path was to become a doctor. That didn't quite work out, and for various reasons. And um, at the time, my mother was sick. She had just passed away of cancer, and I um, uh, I didn't know what to do anymore. So I started doing some temp work here and there, and uh, I met a good friend of mine um, back then who had just started a break fix IT consulting company, and this was I think it was '97 when he started it. Um, and out of the blue, he calls me one night and says, "Hey, do you want to come and work with me?" I was like, "Well, I don't even know anything about what you do, or I don't even know how to turn on a computer, right?" So, so yeah, so he, I consider him my mentor as well. Not only a good friend, but a mentor. And so he taught me a lot of the things that I know now, right? And we were able, we were a two-man show for a few years, and we were able to grow a very successful business. Um, and a lot of it had to do with the relationships that we had with our clients, right? I mean, we went out and beyond for our clients, and so we started getting referrals, right, from the few clients that we had. Started getting referrals, uh, and then I think we got to a point where, okay, more help is needed, right? And another person came on board, and so on and so on. So it was great. In about I would say 5 6 years ago, we decided to part ways, and that's how Avanzar IT Systems came about. And for those of you who don't know Spanish, Avanzar means moving forward. And when I was thinking of the name, I mean, many companies out there have very technical names, right, that relate to technology. And I wanted to do something different, and I just couldn't think of anything. And then one day, I said to myself, how about something in Spanish, right? What is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to, uh, what is my mission, right? And it was moving forward, help business move forward. So Spanish word is avanzar. So and also it helps as an icebreaker, I think, because whenever I introduce the company, oh, what does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's much more original than Mount Dora Computers, which was mine. So, um, although that was the break fix, not the managed services. The managed services was later on, and basically, I wasn't any more creative. It was EAG, which stood for Eric Anthony Group.
okay, and I thought about initials too, but then it was too much of a law firm type of thing.
Yeah, no, I
So
like the name. It really, even if you don't know Spanish, it's a very strong without being aggressive. I guess I would is the way I would
hmm,
describe that from an English point of view.
hmm. I never heard that one before.
So I don't know. That's just my initial thoughts on it.
Mhm. Kind of
So,
like Degly. uh,
but you make a mean scone, so you know.
yes,
Um.
I'm
Anyway,
like,
huh?
I'm glad you like them.
It made my morning that day in Vegas. I cannot tell you. I had to get up early and do a couple of meetings before we went to the sessions. And basically, for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about Channel Con that was put on by CompTIA earlier this month in Vegas. And Degly was kind enough to bake and bring some scones and distribute them to quite a few people at the show. And I really helped me out that morning. So, but we're not here to talk about scones. We
That,
could,
that
but
will be another show.
that'll be another show.
The
Uh,
technicality of making scones.
yeah, we'll have an all things baking show, and then we'll bring Degly on for that. Um, but we want to talk about client relationships because, like I said in the beginning, we are, even though we're a technology business, we are also a service business. And how we deliver our services, the experience that we build for clients, really has a lot to do with our success as an MSP. So let's start out, Degly, because I know that you have a history of kind of making your business revolve around this customer relationship or this client relationship idea. So why don't we start out with you describing kind of what that client relationship looks like and what it means to you?
Hmm. So, just like any other relationship, whether it's personal or professional, the way I approach it is I genuinely want to know about you, about the person uh, in front of me, um, and yes, with clients, there may be the alternative motive, right, of which is doing business, right, but I don't know. I like to think that the business portion of it grows organically as as I get to know uh, the existing client or a potential client, right? Um, and it's something that it's uh, it's part of the company's culture. One of the things that I really try to instill on the team is to be to genuinely want to know that person. And we're talking about the people at the top, all the C's, or the support staff at a client, right? Get to know them, because that will help you with, not only make it through your day, but also um, it will create relationships that you can take on. And if they decide to do business, leave the company and start their own thing, right? They're gonna take that with them, that core value of, okay, relationships. That's what is making the business thrive.
Yeah, and you said a word that really I think is kind of at the core of this a little bit, and that's culture, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things we talk about when we have discussions about MSPs is, do you and your clients have a culture fit? So when you're looking to onboard a new client, are you looking to identify that culture fit and making sure that your culture and the client's culture are going to have that similarity or that alignment that's going to allow you to have that relationship?
Not necessarily. As I said earlier, it organically works out that way. Uh,
Okay.
and at least that has been my experience so far with all of our clients. And and don't get me wrong, there are clients where the C's, right, the people at the top, they completely draw the line, right, where, okay, no, this is business. I don't want to get to know you. I don't want to, this is strictly business, right? Not personal, and that's perfectly fine. But then we have a good relationship with the rest of the company, right? With the supervisors, the managers, the staff, the support staff, right? And that helps us. That helps everyone. And also, I think um, it helps the support staff to feel comfortable reaching out to us with any little problems, right? Any
Yeah.
one of the things that I always tell everyone is, like, there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? you know you know what you know, we know what we know. If you ask me how to do your job, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? um, and the other way around. So I think it helps making them feel uh, empowered, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's important, and you said something that's I think really key. There is, it's not just a relationship with the business owner or the C levels; it's a relationship with everybody in the organization that your services engage with. Right? Keith
Hmm.
actually made a comment a few minutes ago. He says, "I think we are service, relationship, business outcome that uses technology." And
Yes.
the relationship is what's necessary, what you described, in order to uncover what those business outcomes need to be. Because
Hmm.
the C levels may have one business outcome, the managers may have another, and then, you know, the frontline people may have a different one. And so if you don't build relationships all the way down the line, you might miss something and not optimize that business outcome.
Yeah, definitely. And many times, and I have experienced this with some clients where the frontline workers, right, the support staff, um, uh, go through so many pains in order to do their day-to-day job, right? In order to do everything that they do on a daily basis, for due to lack of technology support, lack of uh, efficiency, right? And and to so they convey that to us, right? And it's our job to relay that message to the C's, right?
Right.
To the yeah, and make something happen. For instance, I a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with a client, the CEO of one of the companies, and we were in the process of doing some technology procurement, and he was picking and choosing who was going to get what, right? Based on their job description. No, this person doesn't need this. This person doesn't need that. Oh, this is too, this is too much power for whatever this employee is doing, right? And I said to him, well, it's not about what they do. It's about how they do it and the efficiency in which they're going to do their job. And I used this analogy with him. I told him, just think of this. Let's say you give John a motor. You expect John and David to get to work by 8 o'clock, right on the dot, punctual. You give John a motorcycle, but you give David a bicycle, right? Now John, he can wake up at 7:30, 30 minutes before he has to get to work, and boom, he'll be there because he has a motorcycle. He'll be there on time. But David, who has a bicycle, has to wake up even a lot earlier, get ready, 4 in the morning, ride his bicycle for 2 3 hours in order to get to work by 8. So it's about efficiency, and and, and it's not about what they do. So
Right.
he kind of understood and sort of gave in some aspects. But again, we're and this goes back to the relationships that we have with the staff, right? We want to help them. We want to help them get through their day with technology and with all the support that they need.
Yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, it's not the C levels that where most of the efficiency gains are made, right? The
Hmm.
efficiency gains are made with the frontline people actually doing the work. And
Exactly. Yeah.
the faster and more efficient and more quality that you can have them achieve their work through technology,
Hmm.
the more profitable the business is going to be, or the better customer experience they're going to give to their customers. But if you don't talk to those people, you don't have the relationships with those frontline people, you
Hmm.
won't uncover those. And so you don't know what you're solving for.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and many times, especially when businesses get bigger and bigger, right? Uh, a disconnect starts to happen between supervisors, managers, the CEOs, the CFOs, right, and their support staff, uh, where they don't know what's going on. They don't know what they're going through on a day to day, and and many times they don't. The support staff don't feel comfortable enough to go to their bosses, right, and say, "Hey, I need a new laptop. This thing is 10 years old," and many do feel that, feel comfortable asking, but in in my experience, we have many where they just don't feel that comfort. So we are the message
You
relayers,
create
or
the comfort. You
yeah,
provide that level I think maybe Keith mentioned it as a conduit earlier in the comments,
right.
and that's exactly part of what I think the job is. Right, it's communicating the need to the people who make the decisions so that the business can be improved.
Hmm. Yep,
So
absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about kind of the benefit to the MSP here, because I suspect, because in most businesses, the longer you have a client, the lifetime value not only increases, obviously, but I think
Hmm.
that there's efficiencies and there are just, because you're gaining positivity in the relationship and you're getting closer, and business to business, you understand each other better. I think it actually ends up being a more profitable relationship over time from where you started to, maybe 3, 4, 10 years down the road. Has that been your experience?
Yes, with many clients, yes, that's been the experience. I can dare to say that with many clients we have a blank check, if you will, to do what we need to do, to spend what we need to spend, because they trust us. You know, they they've been working with us for many years, and that trust is there. They know that we're not gonna screw them. They know that we're not gonna uh, get more than what we need, right? Or what they need, actually.
Right. So it kind of takes that trusted advisor thing, that those words that we don't like to hear because they're just
Mhm.
buzzwords at this point, but kind of takes it to the next level, right? Where you
Mhm.
have a blank check. You are allowed to do whatever it takes for the benefit of that business. And that's a
Yeah.
very unique position to be in. And I don't know that a lot of service providers actually get to that level of trust with clients.
Yeah. I wish all my clients were that way, but they're not.
No, I get it, right? And back when I had my MSP, same thing. I had clients where I didn't even have to ask. I just did something and billed them for it. And there was, I didn't need to say a word. But
Mhm.
then, we always have those clients. And a lot of times it's because they're in, lower profit margin businesses. They have a tighter budget, whatever it is. So they need to
Mhm.
know because they're running that much closer in terms of their finances. Um,
Yeah.
but I want to flip it because we talked about how it can make it more profitable. But also, how does it help to reduce churn? I mean, I think that there's a natural, as you build a relationship, that people just want to continue working together. So, regardless of a problem that might occur, they're more likely to stay with you based on the relationship.
Hmm. I believe so. I truly believe so. And I'm sure, I'm not, my company is not the only one that experiences this, but uh, yes, they like working with us.
Right.
Uh, they know that we're gonna go, uh, we're gonna go way beyond uh, for them and take care of them. Um, and yes, it's yeah, it creates that bond, if you will.
Yeah, I had an interesting situation where I had taken over a client. I had actually not known them for that long. I hadn't even fully onboarded them yet. And this was early days of ransomware. We're talking maybe 90, late 90s. So we'll say 98, 99. And they got ransomed. And it was toast. I mean, we were able to cobble things back together barely, but because of the relationship, they kept us on, and they stayed with us for, well, until I sold the business. And it's that kind of relationship that can overcome a billing error or a ransomware event or
Hmm.
some other type of major disagreement between the two parties, right?
Hmm.
Because I mean, let's face it, contracts will get you so far. If you set expectations correctly, contracts are probably the best way to make sure that the relationship is starts on solid ground and everybody knows what's expected. But if you don't build upon that relationship, you can still have things that'll pop up that will, you know, cause a major disagreement and maybe even a falling out.
Hmm. In contracts, and many people who are here right now or will listen to this will say, BS. I think when you have a very strong relationship with your clients, uh, those contracts become a formality. You know, uh, and if anything happens, they'll know that. it wasn't you. It wasn't because
Right.
uh, that you did everything possible to take care of or avoid whatever mishap, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, I had very few formal contracts because everything was relationship based.
Hmm.
And either I was very lucky or I was good at maintaining those relationships.
Hmm.
But either way, I think the question here is if you are small enough, you can maintain those relationships, you can set the expectations all verbally, between the two parties. When you start to scale as a business, that's where you have to have ways to multiply yourself and scale yourself. And contracts is one of the ways that you do that. So that as soon as,
Hmm.
because you and we can very easily build a relationship with a client. But when we start bringing in other people to do that, we have to take how we do things and turn it into a process.
Right.
And part
Right.
of that is the contract, part of it is their training, part of it is the just the culture of the MSP.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think, and actually, um, we talked about this in one of the peer groups that I belong to last week, and we were talking about service managers, right? And sales in general, right? Um, Again, I have never done any sales or marketing, right? So that's something that if you talk to me about sales and marketing, it would be like a foreign language to me because you know we've been lucky enough not to have the need to do that. Um, and we talked about how I asked, okay, how experienced if you hire a service manager or a salesperson, right? How experience are you looking for? How much of an experience are you looking for? A well-seasoned salesperson or someone uh, who's just starting, or someone who's right in the middle that you can still mold and instill that culture and keep driving that culture. Um, and it was a mix of opinions on that. Because you do want a well experienced salesperson, right? Because they'll get the job done and they'll get you as more businesses than more prospects than the one who's just starting. But it's a give and take, I think. You know,
Yeah, and
and I,
go ahead.
no, and that's where as the owner, you have to decide, well, should I give in to this person's way of doing business and um, risk the way I do relationships, or should I risk take a chance with this person who's just starting and not only help that person become successful, but slowly but surely make the company more successful as well.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, I think that's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Because I think for most MSPs, we started this with a certain idea, with a certain opinion of how clients should be treated and how we wanted to deliver our services to those clients.
Hmm.
And I think we've kind of already discussed that that's one of those unique differentiators, right?
Yes.
It's what makes my MSP different from your MSP.
Hmm.
And as you scale, I think it becomes more and more difficult to have that influence unless you are very intentional over the culture of your company, because it is very easy for a salesperson to come in and
Yeah.
have a very different background and a very different opinion on how things should be done or how clients should be treated. that could very easily be contrary to what you want and what you're trying to do and what you built your business on over the past 5, 10 years or more.
Hmm.
And so that can be harmful to a business. And sales is just one of those things. There was a post, I think, I can't remember if it was on Reddit or Facebook today, where he was talking about he had spent tens of thousands of dollars on salespeople and had nothing to show for it. They might have gotten 2 customers over an entire year of having this and paying a salary on a salesperson. And it's
Hmm.
not easy. It's a system. And my personal belief is that if you don't do it yourself first, you can't teach somebody else how you would do it.
Hmm.
And that's frequently my advice to people who are starting out or people who are trying to start scaling is make sure you understand what's happening yourself. Do it yourself with your opinion, with your way of doing things so that you can write the process for it and understand where the gotchas are before you're paying somebody to do it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a good advice. It really is. No, seriously. I mean, for someone who's never done sales, yeah, I think, yeah.
Well, so because I'm a technician first, right?
Hmm.
Like I went to school, I have a computer engineering degree. I grew up messing with this stuff, right? I had no idea what sales was. I had no idea what marketing was. And I think because honestly, I'll say I think because I was cheap and decided to do it myself, that that was the reason I was forced to learn how to do it,
Hmm.
right? Now, I had some help. I bought the technology marketing toolkit. I listened to other experts and I listened to sales tapes and stuff to try and educate myself. But at the end of the day, I was the one doing it. And so, I think that's one of the ways. There's lots of ways you can do it, but I think especially if you're trying to not spend a lot of money and you want to keep it your style of business, that you're going to do it yourself first and then teach others how to do it.
Well, Keith mentioned that there are so many right ways, right, to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about this business is that there are so many right ways to do it.
Hmm.
Look at Keith, very successful, does not run a traditional MSP, but he totally is an MSP because he does services and he manages business outcomes. And, if you're Keith, he mentions again, money is the easy part. There are no limits
Hmm.
to money, only limits to your time. It's a great phrase.
Yeah.
And it's true because you can ask for as much money as you want. And if you ask the right business, they have the money to pay you as much
Hmm.
money as you ask for. And if you're solving a problem that is worth that money, you should be getting that money.
Hmm.
Now, I'm going to step off my soapbox for a second here.
Okay.
We did transition this conversation kind of into sales and marketing, and I want to talk about something that historically has been a big deal for MSPs, and even going back to my break fix days, right? And that is word of mouth. You and I talked about it in the green room before we started the show. And talk to me a little bit about how word of mouth and referrals have worked for you up to this point.
Um, well, as in any other industry, as in any other business, you know, let's say you have an amazing contractor, right? That has done work for you, and he's on time. He's uh, relatively uh, unexpensive, right? And does a great work. You're going to refer that person, that contractor, to your neighbor or your friends. So that's how it's been for us, since we have provided such. I To this point, I believe it's great service, right? Um, whenever we get a referral, uh, it's already I feel as if we already have one foot in the door, right? And at that point, we don't go in trying to sell our services. We don't go in trying to sell our company. We don't go in trying to, you know, uh, convince them that we're a better choice than the MSP down the street.
Because they already
Um,
know.
they already know, right? And so we go in and we start talking about their goals, their pain points, you know, what it is that they're looking for, right? Um, and that has made it so much easier uh, to deal with. And and since we don't go in as trying to sell our services, I believe that has helped with the relationship. And that the relationship starts right uh, because they see us as somebody that is there to help,
Right.
and not someone who is there to make a sale.
Right. Because you're coming in to solve a problem, not sell them a widget or another computer or another server,
Correct.
unless they need it.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right. Um, so what have you kind of done to, I guess, nurture or foster um, kind of a steady flow of those referrals? Or have you been lucky enough for them to just appear?
Uh, until about a year ago, and I blame it on the pandemic. Yes, referrals were just coming. Hey, a client would call. Hey, a friend has a company, and they're looking for a new IT provider. You want to give them a call, or I'll shoot them your information. Uh, they're good friends. Take care of them. So that's how it has worked. But uh, the past year or so, uh, it hasn't been that way. Where we were getting a few referrals per year, right? I think in the last year it was just one. So, and and that's why now uh, the company is at a crossroads because I'm debating whether I should invest money in sales and marketing. I'm wondering if I should invest money on hiring a salesperson, or or start doing it my way somehow and start learning like you did. you know, because I
So,
mean, it is.
yeah. And by the way, there's a lot of people in our industry right now who say that word of mouth doesn't work anymore. I say that is absolute nonsense. Word of mouth has always worked. It will always work. What it doesn't do is scale fast. That's
Right.
basically the problem with it, right? And because this industry has matured, we have a lot of business who have employed sales and marketing that does scale fast, and so relatively speaking, it's not working as well, right?
Hmm.
Doesn't mean it doesn't work. And it doesn't mean that there aren't things that you can do to supercharge referrals. The two things that I think of when I think of referrals and back to my MSP is number one, I did a little bit of joint venture marketing where I was doing, it's not really like a referral, but it's kind of like a referral because you have another vendor. In my case, it was a voice over IP or a telephony. What am I saying? Guy who I worked very closely with, right? And so he let me market to his clients. And he marketed to my clients, and we both just like that was we did great with that because he was doing a lot of voice over IP, and so we found a nice phone system that we can install that was really didn't require a lot of support. It was easy to learn, which 10, 15 years ago, voice over IP, some of them were not as easy to manage,
Hmm.
but we found a really easy one that was. And I did the networking, he did the telephone part, and we were able to scale up pretty well with that. The other part that I had really good luck with is I would incentivize my existing clients. Now, you can go overboard with this, so it's something you kind of have to be careful with, because one of the reasons why word of mouth marketing works so well is because it's organic. And if
Hmm.
you force it, it loses that organic piece.
Yeah.
So it's more about just making sure that your clients know that there is something in it for them, so that it's a little bit more top of mind when somebody, another business owner or somebody else comes to them with a problem. They'll go, oh, well, I get a $5 Starbucks card for telling you about Degly. So let me forward your information to Degly, and he'll reach out, and I know he can solve your problem because he solves our problems. Those two things combined allowed me to not have to do much more than word of mouth. We did a few more things, but I think word of mouth was still our most powerful piece of marketing, and it really, I just gave it a little kick in the pants, is what I did.
Hmm. Yeah. And, I also wonder, talking about scaling, right? We all have different goals, right? Now, I think uh, my MSP is very successful in many, many ways. Yes, I'm not the 10 million, $20 million MSP, but does that make me successful? I mean, success to me is having, the ability to do what I want, however I want, right? Uh, Employees being able to do, you know, whatever they want, however they want, be able to take vacations, and freely and without having to worry about, you know, uh, coming back to work or being bothered by, while in vacation, right?
Yeah.
The family time and business time, right? Um, I mean, to me, that's success. And now scaling, do I want to scale to a super multi-million dollar MSP? No, I don't want to sacrifice the good things I have.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that makes this niche very interesting, is because we have a lot of people, because I was in the same boat, that feel like you do. I'm doing this because I like what I'm doing, and it gives me a level of success that I'm comfortable with, that I desire. The people that I worry about in this business are the people who haven't been able to take that vacation that you described yet.
Hmm. Yeah,
Those are the people that I worry about. Everybody else, if you're happy and your employees are happy, who cares what somebody else thinks?
that's success. I mean,
Exactly.
to me, that's success. And 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 clients are happy. We are happy. Doesn't get any better than that. And of course, it's not peachy all the time, but there's always something that happens, and frustration and stress that you, you just
Yeah.
can't avoid, right?
And I believe it is a business. Keith mentions here that, this is why the MSP business is so awesome. Great income and lifestyle. You don't have to build a $10 million business to have the type of lifestyle and freedom that, the top 10% enjoy,
Hmm.
because it's such a high profit business.
Yeah,
You don't have to have such a large annual revenue to get to a comfortable life.
yeah, yeah. Um, And a lot of people, a lot of business MSP owners, uh, they see scaling and growing to that degree because they want to exit the business, right? Uh, but I I, I think making two, three, $5 million a year in revenue can easily get you out and allow you to do something else and live comfortably, except in California.
Well, but see, that's the thing, right? The other thing that's really helped lately is people have been able to move just about anywhere.
Hmm.
And so you have a little bit more control over those types of expenses as a business owner because you can decide to pick up and move.
Yeah.
And as long as you have boots on the ground in the areas that you serve, because I do think that's important, you can do most of what you need to do.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and that sort of takes us to community, right? Um, Having that network uh, in in other companies that you have relationships with,
Yeah.
it's a great asset because if I don't know if I have a client in Florida, right? There are many colleagues in Florida that can actually help with that client. They can either we can do a co management type of thing, or they can take over that client if that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, several times in my history as an MSP, I had that happen where either I needed boots on the ground somewhere else or somebody else that I had met most likely at a conference needed boots on the ground in Orlando, you know, and we did it. And one of the really cool things about this industry is the community. And there's so many different aspects of it. I mean, there's what you guys are doing with the tech degenerates. There's the different shows that we get to. There's the different non-vendor sponsored shows. I mean, we've got what TechCon Unplugged is coming up here soon. We just had
Hmm.
MSP Community Minds that are not run by vendors, right? They're
Right.
run by the community. And I don't think I've ever seen a community of business owners that are as interactive and helpful to each other as this one. I've already seen posts today of people, not affected by the hurricane that's hitting Florida right now, already
Hmm.
reaching out on social media to find out if there's anything that the MSPs in, on the west coast of Florida need because of
Hmm.
this storm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's simply amazing to me that this is, with all the other stuff going on in the world, this is how close knit and how,
Mhm.
I just don't even know how to describe it, just how friendly and supportive this industry is with each other.
Definitely. And I had a conversation, actually at Channel Con a few weeks ago. I had a conversation uh, with a guy that I met there, and he's been in the business for a few years now, and I told him, look, and that was his first Channel Con, right? And I told him, I think you should, continue to go not only to this event but many others, because you're going to start building those relationships. You're going to start building that network. And he was sort of like um, taken back a bit, like, but their competition. And I said, no, 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 no. There's no competition here. You know, I mean, there's so much to go around. I mean, especially if we're serving the small to medium sized businesses, right? There's so much to go around. Even MSPs down the street here, there's no competition. They
Yeah.
have their clients, we have our clients, and we live happily
Yeah.
ever after.
And it has
And
to do with the fact that there are so many small businesses out there and so many small businesses start up every year. There is just a constant influx of new
Hmm.
customers. And I also think that one of the things that makes this interesting is big businesses don't get this. They don't understand the concept of scaling down. They don't understand the concept of, you know, a mom and pop bakery is not going to hire some, in Spokane, is not going to hire some big IT firm in New York to handle
Hmm.
their IT. It doesn't scale down like that. You can't take a big business and serve all these micro businesses with it. You
Right.
have to have people who are in touch with the local community, in touch with what's going on, and bringing it back around to the original topic, are willing to have those relationships and can have those relationships because
Hmm.
they are local with those
Yep.
small businesses. I think
Yes.
that's why it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, for large companies to displace the MSP in a meaningful way anytime soon.
Yeah. And also the reason why we do it, right? We do it to help those small businesses, right? I mean, we ourselves are small businesses, right? So uh, whatever is possible, whatever is in our power to help those businesses move forward, right? We're gonna do it. And unlike a big company, right? They have so many red tape processes in place. So I mean, bunch of convoluted stuff that they
Mm-hmm.
don't get anything done.
Yeah.
They wouldn't
And
be able to get anything done.
yeah. And Keith brings up a good point here, and I love the word that he uses here. He uses the word commodity.
Hmm.
And the reason I like this is because I don't think commodity IT services are ever going to work in the small to medium sized business world
No,
because it doesn't solve for business outcomes.
no, no. And here's my take on commodity. And it's something that's the big buzzword now, right? Uh, that we have become a commodity. It may be so. However, what and bringing it back to relationships, our relationship is not a commodity. Our
Correct.
relationship with our clients is not a commodity. So,
Yep. Because you can't standardize relationships.
okay, exactly, yeah.
It's as simple as that. And
Hmm.
Degly, we have just about run out of time.
Oh wow,
And
wow! We're gonna have enough uh, topics to talk about.
well, that's what happens with these, right? Is we just get talking. There's a million things to talk about. I think we stayed pretty well on topic tonight, as a matter of fact. So we didn't even have to go. We didn't have to veer off into the sidelines to come up with new things to talk about. We stayed inside the relationship realm, and
Hmm.
probably just one more thing before we sign off and let people go watch Marvin B's show because Marvin B comes up next.
Yeah, you don't
And
want to take over this time.
that's right. That's right. We did the live crossover show, but we try and respect each other's boundaries. Um, what is the one thing that you could recommend to somebody who wants to work on their relationships with their clients? What's one tactic that you can give them that's worked for you that you think would help them build their relationships with their clients?
Hmm. I would say don't don't look at them as a client. Look at them as a friend. And some people may say, well, that's there will be a conflict of interest at some point. Um, I don't believe there would be a conflict of interest. But talk to them in as someone that you truly want to help and and get to know them.
Yeah. And Keith says, just be real. That's simple.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of it does kind of boil down to that, right? It's being real, being true, being transparent, because I think from the service delivery to resolving issues to even what you charge, the more transparent you are, not
Mhm.
about details, right? It doesn't need to be transparent about like what I'm paying for the RMM tool that I'm using to monitor, right? It's about being transparent about the value that you're delivering and saying,
Yes.
"Hey, this is worth this price because of this." Not because of what it costs, but because of what you're getting out of it. And I think the more MSPs look at the business outcome and the value that they're delivering to the client, the more money they can get out of them because value drives way more profit than just marking up stuff.
Hmm. Absolutely true.
So, and we can't end
And
on a better note than Henry saying great stuff, guys.
before we sign off, there's something I have been wanting to get off my chest. Um, I don't know how to do this. You know, I hold on. Let me. How do I do this? Okay, I don't always do all things MSP, but when I do it drinking Dos Equis.
Very nice, sir. And if you haven't noticed, I've been sipping on a whiskey all night.
You know the inside joke, right? Somehow in the tech degenerates world, I have become the most interesting man in the world.
Well, there is a resemblance, sir. You do have that quality about you.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, we are right up against time, so I'm gonna put you in the green room for just a second. I'll be back to you in a minute
All right.
while I wrap this up.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, that was a great conversation with the most interesting man in the MSP world. And I hope you enjoyed it. Henry, yes, it is absolutely the swagger. Well, it's the swagger and the scones. I think the fact that the man can run an MSP and bake an amazing scone, I mean, come on. You know, if that doesn't say worldwide talent, I don't know what else does. Anyway, I will not be back for a live stream next week, but I will cross my fingers, try and get one of our older sessions queued up so there will be something for you to watch on Wednesday nights, just in case, you know, you sit and watch this while you're doing your billing or something, because it's a thing, right? Uh, the podcast, there will be a new podcast out every week while I'm out for this short little, just taking a little vacation, nothing big, just a little time with the wife. That's all. And, but anyway, great time tonight. Thank you guys very much for being here. Go watch Marvin B because he's up next. Talk to you later.